There is value to what we deliver in chiropractic. And it's not so much, think of it this way, it's not so much what we do to people, but it's more so what we do for people. Wouldn't you agree? Welcome to AMC. I'm Dr. Greg Miller. What are the components of a good business? Today, Dr. Jeremy Brubaker is going to break down a unique principle that contributes to this effort. Don't miss his advice on how to establish value in delivering chiropractic. If this video helps you, please click the like and subscribe buttons. Let's get started. Hey there. In this conversation, we're going to jump into right away some good basic business. And I know we're in the chiropractic profession, we're in the healthcare profession, we're treating patients, but the reality is we are in business as well, and you know that, and I know that. So let's pick apart some basic business principles. Now, inside of Aligned and AMC, we have what we lovingly call our 6 C's, which are 6 different principles relating directly with good business. And what is good business? If I had to break it down and think about a couple components of good business is being honest. Good business is obviously telling the truth. Good business is, establishing things up front. There's no games, there's no hidden things. Especially in the doctor-patient relationship. We want to establish that they can trust us not only with their healthcare, but we're going to have their best interest in heart. And how we do that? We do that by being honest, truthful, and establishing things up front. So that's maybe business 101. We want to have a great business. Let's start with those fundamentals. Another thing in business, and think about yourself. If I'm going to make a purchase or I'm going to, invest in some healthcare or do something like that, personally, I'm going to weigh out the pros and the cons, the pluses, the minuses. I want to gather all the facts and then come to a decision. And again, if I'm looking at something, I want to come to that decision quickly. So I believe our patients do the exact same thing. I think that in a practice, no games, honesty, upfront, truthful, we help them weigh out the pluses and the minus. They can come to a decision, and a good decision that they can stick to, that they can commit to, that they don't end up having this buyer's remorse. Anytime you surprise a patient, whether it be fees or we forgot to talk about this, it erodes that business relationship, that doctor-patient relationship. It just does. So think about it. You've had patients, I've had patients. Even if you're new, just coming into chiropractic, it's going to happen. We're not all going to be perfect, but you're going to recognize that the more we can operate with good business principles, the better those relationships, the more often we're able to help patients with their healthcare. Now, that's kind of an intro, but I mentioned there's some principles that we know and we have implemented into our systems over the years and years and years that just work flawlessly. And the one we want to pick out today in this conversation is one that we call compare. And what do we mean by compare? I would say, the way I would think about it is value. I think about it value because, I compare. I don't know about you, but I shop, right? I'm going to compare this to that. I'm going to try to find the best value when I'm making a purchase or when I'm investing in my healthcare. I want value. I want value and I want results. They need to come hand in hand, at least for me. And I think for the most population, I think they think the same way. You probably do too. So how do we establish value, or how do we communicate value? Now, I can tell them it's valuable, which I do believe it is, and so do you, but it's something, and that's through the patient's discovery process. So if we compare, and we're going to talk about costs. When I say cost, I mean value. So there is value to what we deliver in chiropractic. And it's not so much, think of it this way, it's not so much what we do to people, but it's more so what we do for people. Wouldn't you agree? What we do for people sometimes is a lot trickier to quantify, right? But if you can remember this, these 2 words, save from. What do we save people from? What do we do actually for people? Now, it's a big thought. I think it's a simple thought, but it's a big thought
Because when you start to compare, and I had an office this week do an exercise with their staff. The doctor had the staff just go out and, you know what, make a list of all the over-the-counter and prescription medications that deal with, musculoskeletal pain, discomfort. Just make a list and get the costs, and let's look at the side effects, and let's just look at what the alternatives are to kind of what some basic fundamental things that we do for patients in the office. And so just that exercise creates value for your staff. They start to understand, oh my gosh, there is a big difference from what we do for people and what the alternatives may be. It also does something for us as the doctors, right? We know this, but it just reinforces, the value that we bring to the table. So anytime you compare, and this is the wonderful thing in chiropractic, anytime you compare with alternative treatments, chiropractic is typically going to win. 99% of the time, there is such value because we do get results. And I just love it. There's one thing that we can talk about, we can celebrate in chiropractic, and it's results. The results happen consistently. So for us not to shine a spotlight on that, give all the facts of what the value is in comparison to what the alternatives are, well, then it's harder for the patient to make that decision and then commit to that decision without that kind of that buyer's remorse type mindset that may or may not happen in that doctor-patient relationship. So I know we're just going to scratch the surface in these couple minutes here today, but I want to challenge you. Think about this. Are people willing to pay for what they value? It's a silly question because we all know it's true. If they value it, they prioritize it, right? They make it important. And then they will take the steps to acquire it or to do whatever that is. And in our office, it's they need this care. We want to tell them the truth. And this is also a little side note. If I'm going to communicate some of these things to patients, I'm always going to get their permission. I never want to be just monologuing, just throwing it on them, heaping this stuff on them. And if you don't get anything else from this conversation today, remember this. Simply ask the patient for their permission. It's a good rule of thumb across the board. Can I be truthful with you, Mrs. Jones? Can we talk about this? Very simple things, but when they give you permission, now they're interested in knowing what you have to say. Unsolicited advice never goes well, right? Unsolicited information where they didn't really ask for it doesn't go as well as when now they're engaged in the conversation. That's a side note to what we're talking about in comparing, but I'll encourage you, do that exercise. Start to compare some costs, compare some treatments, compare some side effects of patients that are in your office that have already done these things, and now they come to your office, actually get results. We can quantify what we do for them, what we save them from, and just simply compare it and see who wins. I'm going to bet you chiropractic wins 99% of the time. Your patient will win because they'll be more confident in getting the care that they need, following through. And when they do that, they tell more people about you and your office. Hope this is beneficial. Take and use it, and have a blessed day.
If you enjoyed this video, click the like button and share it with your friends and colleagues. AMC is here for your practice and your patients. Visit amcfamily.com to learn more or call 904-966-4996. See you next week.